Hello, I'm Di. You're watching Your Voice Matters TV with Di Rogel, the place to be for your voice to be heard. Today, I have a very special guest with me talking about a problem that a lot of people know nothing about. And the people that do know about it have tended to hide and feel that it's something shameful. So we're going to bring some light to that today with this delightful lady who I'm pleased to say is a friend of mine. Pat Law is recently retired. She's a lady who's dabbled in art all of her life, and now she's got a bit more time. She's picking up and taking it more seriously. But today, we're going to be talking about alopecia, the loss of hair. I mean, how would you feel if you lost all your hair? Our hair's our crowning glory. So looking at it from the point of view of someone who's been there, but bringing to light some of the facts about it, the facts and the myths. I'm delighted to introduce Pat to share some of her story with me. Hello, Pat. Welcome to the show.
Hi, Di. Nice to be here.
Excellent. So, alopecia, how do you feel when people say, oh, I'd hate to lose my hair? What reaction does that cause in you?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
I guess over the years I've come to realise that people say all sorts of things on the spur of the moment. So once I think something like that would have been like devastating to me, but now I've had this condition for an awful long time, half of my life.
Right.
So I'm quite used to it, really.
So you've had a while to get used to it. Fair enough. So
yes.
how did it first manifest itself? Does alopecia have a cause?
It doesn't have a cause, or none that they have picked up on. It's an autoimmune disease, and how it starts, there's a trigger somewhere. They don't know whether it's internal, like a virus that suddenly morphs into attacking normal cells, or whether it's outside factors such as a stressful situation,
I was going
or
to ask
whether
that.
it's
Do
a
you think stress
combination.
relates to it?
Yeah, it could be a combination of both, and but they're not sure. Like any immune disease, it's
a bit of a mystery.
Unknown. Yeah, mystery. Yeah. But the good part is that it's not life-threatening, so it's not going to kill me.
Yes, I know. And there's actually some benefits, for someone like me who's got, I've had a haircut this morning, so you wouldn't know. But normally I'm a bit fluffy, and my hair it grows like grass, which is quite different for Pat and I. Because I've been friends with Pat for a long time, and I used to look at her years ago, and I'd think, why doesn't she ever need a haircut? Her hair never looks any different. I mean, the difference for me between 1 month and the next is just, out of this world. And I could never understand it. I did not have a clue that Pat wore a wig. Not a clue. So
Pat, a lot of people don't until I tell them.
Yeah. And that's really good because, in times gone past, wigs look like a wig.
That's right. And the very first
process.
Yes, I remember the very first wig I tried on looked like a granny's wig, and I was only in my 30s at the time, and I was horrified.
You probably sat down and cried. So you were in your 30s.
Just about, I did. It was terrible.
Was it grey?
It wasn't grey. It wasn't grey, but that was its only redeeming factor. Oh dear. So
it started for you when you were in your 30s. So do you know?
In my late 30s.
Do you know if there was a trigger that got it going, or did it just happen out of the blue?
Well, I was under a lot of stress at the time because I'd just discovered my daughter had been sexually abused. And we were dealing with the fallout of all that. And a year down the track, I was walking along with my husband. He said, oh, you've got a little bald spot on the top of your head. And it was like a 5-cent piece size. And I didn't really think much of it until another one appeared. And then another one. I thought, I better go and check this out. And the doctor knew what it was straight away, of course.
Okay.
And he said, oh, don't worry. This happens to people all the time. It'll just grow back. And so I waited and I waited. And more 5-cent pieces started appearing.
So they were about the size of the 5-cent piece.
Yeah, the first one was, and then it grew to a 20-cent piece, and then it started happening all over, and then it happened on my legs and my arms and my pubic areas, and eventually it all kind of joined up until I had little pigtails left all over my head.
Oh, it sounds hilarious when you're saying it, but it's not. It's not.
I know, but I was devastated at the time. I felt I looked like a real freak, you know, so I ended up shaving it all off, and that was a lot better. I should have done it earlier. But, you know, you hold on to little vestiges of what you have. Yeah. I've still actually got that hair, or have I? I'm not sure whether I did a ritual tossing out a while back, but I held on to it for many, many years, just to see what my colour was, basically, you know.
So it was the colour of your natural hair.
Similar to this. Yeah, it's pretty similar to this one, really.
Well, I guess one of the advantages is you're not going to go grey, are you?
Well, that's true. I shall always have 20-year-old hair.
You will. Now, there's a plus. You're never going to have to shave, because, I mean, for our listeners out there and anyone who's not aware, alopecia doesn't just mean you lose the hair on your head. You lose your hair.
No.
So just explain that to us, Pat.
Well, for the majority of people who have alopecia, it is just regional. So they might just lose parts of their hair on the head, and that's as far as it goes. And it might travel, you know, part grows in and then another part drops out, and that's how they live for years, and that never gets any worse. Right. Other people, the whole head goes, but you've got hair everywhere else. It's just your head hair goes. And then, lucky me, I got the full dose. So first of all, my head hair went, and then my eyelashes went, and my eyebrows went, and my body hair disappeared. And so, and it has sometimes, like I have a few eyelashes now. I don't know whether you can see. I'm very proud of them. I mean, you probably can't see on here, but they're actually pretty pathetic. But they are there now, which is amazing. And a little bit of pubic hair, and I've got a spot right on top of my head that if I was a teenager, I could dye bright pink or whatever, and
like
use it as a little tomahawk. But that's all that's grown. So I do shave that off, because otherwise it interferes with the suction of the wig. But I shave that off every 3 days or so. Yeah. But otherwise,
what are the intricacies of having a wig? What are the day-to-day stuff about having a wig? I mean, you wouldn't get messed up. You don't have to have a cut.
No.
When you wash
I just run a brush through it today, but sometimes I don't even do that. It just virtually stays like this. Some wigs don't. Some wigs you have to, you know, mess around with them more. But this one just stays as it is, and I'm very grateful for that. I just plop it on my wig stand at night, give the base a bit of a clean, and I wash the whole wig probably once a month, just to get rid of the dust, you know, that's accumulated.
So you don't.
But other than that,
you don't sleep in your wig.
No, I don't. No, I have done, like if I've been away and I've been in company, I have slept in a wig, but it's not that comfortable, and I'm always very cautious that I might break the hair, you know, by turning around at night and things like that. So because they're quite expensive, so I just try and keep them as well as I can, you know. And so on a wig stand at night, and I have 2 at the moment, one on order. My other one is quite old. It's over 20 years old.
Wow.
But it's only that age because I didn't wear it for many years. I used to wear cheaper wigs to do my work, so I worked outdoors. So it's lasted a fair amount of time, which I'm very grateful for.
Well, just a lighter note for our listeners, I used to be cleaning with Pat, and I was giving him a peek one day, you know, and like I said, my hair gets very full and rosy. It's just that today it's been cut. And I was giving a cheek one day, and she was going to turn me upside down and use me for a mop because she thought it was going to be irritable. Well, you know, you do that sort of thing with friends, don't you? Really?
It was just perfect.
It fitted the bill, didn't it? Now, but back to business. So, Pat, why do you think that alopecia is something that was swept under the carpet and almost felt like it was something to be ashamed of?
Well, from my own experience, and since then listening to others' experience, it is initially quite a shameful thing. Not only for women, young men especially feel this way too when they lose all their hair, either through, you know, normal testosterone type receding baldness or through alopecia. And it's kind of bound up in our own self-image as a human, I think.
Yeah.
You know, that people have hair, and to go without hair. I mean, in later decades, it has become more popular, hasn't it, for men to actually has their hair right off.
There's so many having chemo treatment and stuff these days that
that's
it's
right.
more common than what it used to be. But that could be attributed to a known cause or an obvious cause.
Yes.
Whereas alopecia is not something that you can see unless you haven't got your hair. No, but it doesn't have symptoms, and you're not off having chemo and whatever. So
right.
I can sort of understand that. So, you know, if you had someone came to you and they were losing their hair and feeling a little bit less than, what advice would you give them? How would you be able to help them? What would you say to them?
Well, first off, I think if someone first has alopecia, we're in the mindset of hope that it will regrow.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be dashing their hopes, because it might regrow. Who am I to say? You know, it has a mind of its own. So I would say to them, remember that the vast majority of people who have alopecia regrow their hair. Mm-hmm. And it's only a small percentage, like myself, that lose everything. And even then, even though I did lose all my hair for a number of years, it did all regrow at one stage. Just, I hadn't done anything different. Out of the blue, it all grew back. And I had it for about 4 years, and then the whole lot disappeared again. So it's very unpredictable, very unpredictable.
Like you say, there's no rhyme nor reason to it.
There's no, and that's, I think, for this particular disease, if you like to call it that, a condition, that's what's so frustrating about it, because there's no cure for it. There's no definite treatment that works for everyone. And so I would say to someone, just try and do the best you can each day to feel good about yourself, whether that's wearing a wig, not everyone's comfortable with that, or whether it's wearing a scarf or going bald. You know, like there's so much acceptance now around going outside with no hair. So, I mean, probably if I'd been a lot younger, I would have been, and born in later years, like in this generation, I would have been more comfortable with not wearing a wig. But from my generation, I was born in early 50s. It's more of a, for me, I feel more like me with a wig. That's how I feel, you know. But so I would tell people, just do what they feel comfortable with. That's the main thing, not what other people think of them. And
that comes back to your self-belief and self-esteem too, doesn't it? And the self-confidence.
It does.
Yeah.
Yes. And that does get challenged when you lose it.
Your family situation probably contributes too.
Yes, that's for sure. And I think people that are close to you, it's like with any disease, whether it's cancer or whatever, people want to help, but they don't know how to help. And so that you try not to mention it too much, and try to tell people how good they look when you know you're looking bad. It's kind of, and with the best of intentions, people try to make you feel better. But I think sometimes for those going through things like this, they just need a listening ear and someone to say, I'm with you no matter what happens. on both sides, whether it's family or yourself dealing with it, it's a trauma for all concerned, really, as it is with a cancer. You know, it's like that.
So many things in life, yeah.
Absolutely. And that's one of the reasons why I do wear a wig, because the times that I haven't worn a wig, people have asked me if I have cancer, and I feel such a fake, you know, because mine isn't life-threatening. You know, it's not hurting me in any way at all.
Yeah.
And to be confused with someone who has cancer, I don't like that personally, so I choose to cover it up.
Wear your wig, yeah. And to bring us to a close, you've got a few facts about alopecia that you were going to share with us. Is that correct?
I do, yes.
Would you like to share those with us, please?
I certainly will. Let me just find out what I've got here. Okay. Number one is only 2% of the population will get alopecia. So it's not terribly common. And because it's not life-threatening, most people don't know much about it. It becomes quite an insular thing that you're dealing with. I've already spoken about being ashamed of our looks when we lose it. And I remember myself as my hair left, and then especially as my eyebrows went and my lashes went, suddenly you look devoid of colour in your face. Yeah. And up until that time, I never used to wear makeup at all. Maybe a bit of mascara, but I never wore foundation or anything like that. But I had to rethink that, because I didn't have any colour in my face until I started to wear a wig again and you know, do things. But yeah, so that was something to come to terms with. Getting used to the new look. Also, there's a perception in society that somehow losing our hair has been caused by our own stress, and which might be true. We don't know if it has. That could be a factor.
Contributor.
Absolutely, but it has the effect of making us feel not just ashamed of the way we look, but guilty that we've brought it on ourselves somehow. And in that way, I think a lot of people don't talk about it because of that reason.
So it really causes a jumble of your emotions.
Absolutely, absolutely. Treatments. Now, there's a thing. When I first started this, I had my journey with alopecia. I had injections of cortisol in my scalp, which was very painful. But I thought, if it's going to regrow my hair, I'll stick with it. And it actually did regrow my hair, but it regrew the spots a very white colour, and it didn't stop other spots appearing. So I was continually chasing the spots with these injections until I thought, enough is enough. I'm not doing this anymore. So, and there's also topical medicines, like things that you can take or rub on, or all sorts of weird things. I've even heard about people putting onion juice on their head. I mean, really, you would try anything.
You can't point the finger. If you're in that position, you try anything.
Exactly right. So all those treatments may or may not work for some people, and that's the tragedy of it. Like, what would work for you, what worked for me, and so we can't say one will work. No. As I talked also about feeling a fake when you wear a wig. Some people feel like they're being fake, but I look on it myself as, if I lost an arm and I was given a prosthesis arm, I would be very grateful for that, because I'd be able to do things again. And so I look on this as a prosthesis, and for me that works. But, you know, everybody's an individual and they think of things
but that's a really good pointer to use to encourage somebody else who might have newly lost their hair. That would be a great encouraging point.
Absolutely. And then down the track, if they decide they don't want a wig anymore, well, that's fine.
That's right. They're free to do whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. There's a lot of grief. It's really like going through a grieving process when you lose your hair, and I can't explain it any other way. It's you know, to come to an acceptance of it, that this is how it is, no matter what you try to do, this is how it is, takes a bit of a journey. And for me, it took about a 2-year journey to really get to grips with this.
And that's really sort of like a grief-linked thing, isn't it? Because normally
that's right.
Spreads out over about 2 years.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. What else can I say about it? So, well, I've talked about it being an autoimmune condition, and there's no answer to it. You know, look at thinking back on the stress factor, like children can sometimes have it from a very young age, like a few months old. So it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an environmental factor that's causing it, you know. And a lot of these children aren't neglected, they're loved, you know, and yet they have this condition. So
just another
mystery. So as I say, it's just a mystery. Yes. So that's what I'd say about trying to cope with alopecia. And the bottom line for me is just coming to that acceptance. Okay, this is how it is. How am I going to deal with it? Am I going to be fine, el natural, you know, which is fine for some, or am I going to do something to make me feel better about myself? So, yeah.
Oh, well, Pat, that's just amazing. Now, with the image, if someone has alopecia or if they would like to talk to you, how could they make contact?
Well, they can certainly contact me should they want to on my phone number, which I think you were going to share.
Just say it out.
Okay, 0412 478 141 is my mobile number. And there's also 2 Facebook groups that I know of, one in Sydney, which I'm a member of, and one in Brisbane. So if you type in on Facebook, Alopecia Areata support group, those 2 groups will come out. And there's also an international group called Alopecia World, and you can go on that also. So that's not a Facebook site, that's a website. Okay. So there are lots of people that will give you help and advice, and if you're looking for that sort of thing, or even just to connect with someone who's going through the same thing.
Just how that and sort of supporting each other.
Absolutely, yes.
Well, from me, Pat, you're a brave lady. You have shown such a different light on a subject that in some ways is still a little bit taboo. You brought it to light. You've given us some wonderful hints for people who might be experiencing the loss of hair. And your calmness and your general persona, I think, would give a lot of hope and comfort to anyone who might be in that position. So thank you so much. It's been a delight to have you as my guest today.
Thank you, Diane. Thank you for those kind words. I really appreciate it.
Okay, my pleasure. All right, folks, that's the end of the show. So you've been watching Your Voice Matters TV with Di Riddell, the place to be for your voice to be heard. Remember, your voice is your human gift, a gift that goes on giving if you allow it. Let yours be heard. Cheerio.